Tenemos que ir muy rápido con Janus Henderson, Robert Schramm-Fuchs, gestor de carteras de Janus Henderson. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. How are you?
What do you think about 2023 and the different options for the investor?
Well, I think we have to remain careful. Last year was bad. This year is probably going to be less bad, but it doesn't mean just because we had a good start to the year that we're out of the woods. Personally, I mean, the rally wasn't unexpected to begin this year, but I think it's time to become a little bit more cautious now again. I would say for the coming few months, I don't really expect equities to go anywhere. Probably more of a sideways to slight down movement in my view.
So what do you think about the recession in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, it's been like waiting for Godot. No? We much anticipated last year at various stages, and it was always just around the corner, and it never quite came. But I think the way monetary trends have been over 2022 and the way they continue to be, so a significant contraction in real narrow money, so inflation adjusted money supply in the G7 and E7 economies, pretty much makes a recession nailed on. And we can now debate about the exact start date, but I think it's probably going to be sometime in the second quarter. The reason being, also when we not just look from a monetary perspective, which is typically a 9-month to 12-month lead time over real economy, but we can also look the other way around. We check what's going on bottom up, and we are now seeing the first real deterioration in employment data. In particular in the most important US market. So you're seeing the number of full-time jobs stagnating, if not reducing slightly, and a lot of people taking on second jobs without benefits, lower paid, and so on, just to make ends meet. What this means is eventually it will come through to hit consumption. Now, so far it had been cushioned by a massive savings rate that was built up from the transfer payments that were made from governments to households during the pandemic, which vastly improved the household balance sheets. But we've exhausted it. So households don't really have any more cushion to keep consumption up. The savings rates are at like 50-year lows. So as employment now starts tipping over and savings rates have been exhausted, it will come through to consumption trends. So we will see a significant decline, I think, in retail sales. And that will mean companies will suddenly start to feel the pressures a lot more because we got like decade high profit margins at the moment. This will very quickly reverse as we get a more of a weakness in retail sales. And so this means profit margins compressing. And when profit margins compress and the top line rolls over, what do companies do? They cut costs and they begin laying off people. And that's becoming like a self-fulfilling or sort of a spiral which feeds on itself. Weak consumption, less employment, which leads to weaker consumption and even less employment. That's exactly what the Federal Reserve and other central banks want, because for them the labor market is too tight. Wage inflation, I mean, we don't have to look very far. No? Wage inflation in the US is still running at 6-7, and for job switchers 8%. You see what the labor unions in the UK are doing. We're going from one massive wave of strikes to the next in all sort of services sectors and public services. Or you look at Germany, the labor union of postal workers has just begun wage negotiations with a 15% wage hike demand and so on. So wage inflation is becoming entrenched, and so Federal Reserve and other central banks, they want the labor market to cool. They want this spiral of lower employment and lower retail spending. And so I think we'll get it. And I think it will probably come around the middle of the year. It's always difficult to pinpoint the exact month, but either this side in Q2 or in the third quarter it will hit. And it won't be a very shallow one. I think the other debate that's been going on in the stock market is about a soft landing, and hopes for a soft landing have certainly helped ease us into this year in terms of stock market performance, led to a good start to the year in stock market. I think the hopes for a soft landing are very slim. I think it's going to be a bigger recession than the market currently prices.
Thank you very much, Robert Schramm-Fuchs, gestor de carteras de Janus Henderson. Thank you very much for having this time with us, Robert.
Thank you. Feliz año. Adiós.
Feliz año. 17 de la mañana. Hasta aquí este tiempo de Business con